So, hello and welcome along to another edition of Isolation Interviews for Hospital Radio Reading and for my YouTube channel. And I'm super excited because my guest today is an acting icon. She's done so much. We will, of course, talk about some of those projects, but the fantastic Hermione Norris, it is a pleasure. Welcome. How are you?
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me, Matthew. It's lovely to see you. It's lovely to be here. Thank you.
No,
That
it's like
lovely introduction as well.
no, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on. And as I say, there is so much to talk about. But let's go back to where it all began for you. Do you remember where the love of performing, of acting came from? Do you remember how you got sort of bitten by the bug?
Teachers at school, really, honestly, as young as junior school, teachers, in plays, and I felt a freedom really when I was performing, a freedom in and then when I was at school, another teacher came who had come from RADA, and he really took me under his wing and mentored me. Really, he made acting as a career a real possibility for me, and I love him to this day. And another teacher at drama school as well, who just the teachers amazing. Yeah.
And I mean, the other thing I must ask is that, kind of for an actor, I imagine there's a moment when you're first on stage. Do you remember that time when you were first performing and the kind of the buzz you got from that?
Yeah, being little and being on stage. And as I said, it was a real sense of being completely immersed in the moment, in flow, I suppose, totally in flow, forgetting everything about myself, everything around me, just being completely engaged in the moment. I just think it's really, really working, it is like a spiritual experience.
I mean, you've had the pleasure of appearing on some amazing shows over the years. The one that I imagine for you is, I mean, I'm not going to put words in your mouth here, but I imagine the one that's maybe the most enjoyable, the favorite would be Cold Feet. And I mean, for you, what was being a part of that project like? Because I imagine when you started, you had no idea what an amazing, huge show it would go on to be.
No, it was an amazing thing to be a part of, and know that more as time in hindsight, which I kind of knew at the time as well. Really oddly, I remember reading the script, and it was an exceptional script. It was different. It stood out from the other scripts that I was reading at the time. It was contemporary. You could identify with all the characters. It was funny. It was so relatable. And I remember my meeting for that, and I remember the read-throughs and everything. Just couldn't wait to see what all of those actors would bring to those scenes and those characters. It was just a really hope. I suppose that we were young, and it was at a time in Britain that was exciting. In the 90s, it was sort of a hopeful, joyful, quite free time. Really, it
And I
was
imagine
a joyful job.
I was going to say, I imagine, you'd had notoriety before then, but does a show like that bring a whole new level of fame to yourself? What was that like, getting used to that?
Well, it was weird because you have to. It was before reality TV. I mean, there were still kind of. It was ITV, BBC, Channel 4. I don't think there was even Channel 5 when it started. So it was the TV world was very, very different then. There was no internet, I don't think. So it was very much tabloid journalism and that level of fame where you were. It was bizarre. It was bizarre, really, and just I remember that thing of sort of walking down the street and people just shouting "Cold feet" and thinking, "Oh my," it was quite nervous making at times, but an amazing, amazing thing as well. It was. Shall I tell you what it is, Matthew? It's being in a show that people genuinely loved. I think, and that has been a real gift. Yeah.
I think the other thing, I mean, I've had the pleasure of interviewing three of your four co-stars over the years, and I think it's just you're all really genuinely nice people, and it appears that you guys have it kind of like the Friends sort of thing, where you all genuinely seems like you all get on, and you could imagine that if it was you guys in real life, you'd be having just as much fun, if it was the characters or you guys in real life.
Yeah, I think also we're all very, very different. I think that's the other weird thing. very, we're completely non-comparative, all of us. Do you know what I mean? Bizarre. And you can't make that happen, can you? That kind of alchemy. It just sort of either does or it doesn't. It was just, yeah, it was just an extraordinary bunch of people, really.
And the fact that when the show came back, it was as popular, if not more. And I mean, obviously, the show last on air back in 2020. I mean, would you like to see some sort of return to the show at some point in the future? What would you like to see happen?
I think, you know what, as a social experiment, as much as anything, because what the other thing I'd say about Cold Feet, it's as much about our audience as it is about us. That's why, again, I think because everyone relates to a particular character or likes to, we've been your friends as well. We've all grown up together from meeting to having children to, later on in life. So I do think just as a social experiment to do it as a sort of in another time jump would be quite interesting to read for everyone to revisit their own lives and for us to revisit those characters. I do think that would be an interesting thing to do.
Now, obviously, another show that was, a big part of your life was Spooks. And I mean, for you, I mean, I love the fact that when I mentioned some of these shows, to see like the reaction from the guest. And I mean, for that show, it was quite a big part of your life. And what was it like to be a part of that show? Because it was huge, and it's a shame it's not still on air. But what was that
Yeah,
like?
I loved Spooks. I loved Spooks. Amazing cast, amazing crew, shot in London at home, so I could be at home. Um, it was tough. Do you know, the learning that level of lines and learning information, not dialogue, learning information like that was challenging, good for the brain cells. It was good fun, It was we laughed a lot. You're under a lot of pressure on a job like that with all the learning of information and coming in fast on cues and sort of, come on, we haven't got much time and it used to make me laugh. We used to laugh at each other a lot under pressure. It was a nice job to be a part of, yeah. And
And
as you say, I think I miss seeing something like that. Well, actually, there are shows that are quite similar to that on our screens now, but Spooks was, yeah, special, I think.
And I mean, for you as an actor, it must be quite good fun because it's very like Cold Feet is very different to Spooks, and getting to do that variety and that different type of role, that must be what the part of being an actor that you enjoy the most, I imagine.
Yeah, it's just sort of, I've done a lot of series drama. It's just nice to be with a character for a long time. I think it's a privilege. I've enjoyed that. Some actors don't like that, but I've enjoyed living with a character and shepherding them through all their different journeys over quite a long period of time. I've enjoyed that. Yeah, it's been a nice thing.
And have you got a character of yours that maybe is a favorite or one that you felt most connected to in the past?
All of them, really. I think you have to kind of like whoever you're playing. You have to find something that you like or sympathize with or empathize with or make sense of why they're behaving in a particular way. All of them I've connected to on some level, I think. I don't think I could, they're all so different. I wouldn't have a favorite, I don't think. Yeah.
And I mean, for you, I mean, you have done so many amazing roles. Is there one that maybe you're most proudest of? One that for you just feels like that was either your best work or just that you felt you could really get your teeth into it?
I think there was a piece of work I did that was for a documentary filmmaker called Brian Hill, Century Films, called Falling Apart. And it was a piece about domestic violence. And it was some improvisation. All the rest of it was drawn from real characters, real life experience, and just working like that with that kind of freedom with a documentary cameraman, so you weren't having to hit marks. You didn't have the usual confines and restraints of classical TV. That was quite, as an acting exercise, was quite a free experience, which I really appreciated.
And I mean, another program that we must mention that I mean, I remember at the time being quite interested in just kind of a group of pregnant women, and it was In the Club was the show. And I mean, annoyingly, it only ran for two series. I think it should have done more. But I mean, to be a part of that, and it was quite a. I don't really think there was much else like that at the time. So
Mm.
to be a part of that show, did you enjoy that experience?
I loved it. You know, Kay Mellor, who I think was an extraordinary woman, she died very sadly, but she was a she was a fantastic ambassador for women, Kay. And you know, larger than life, she loved all of her characters and was very in everything that she invested in everything that she did. I miss her. I miss all of her work on TV actually, because I think she again was very relatable. She wasn't judgmental of characters or snobby about characters. She loved everybody to portray, you know, all aspects of life, and I think she's missed actually in the world of TV and what she brought to the table hugely.
Now, obviously, as an actor, you do theatre, you do TV. For you, is there, I mean, and I love to ask this question because I love to see kind of the response. But I mean, do you love the fact that you've got the chance to do both, or do you have a favorite? Is there one that you prefer over the other?
I recently did a really lovely show actually called it was just it was like a piece really. Like, it wasn't like a piece, it wasn't theatre. I wouldn't call it theatre, but I wouldn't call it it was a piece it was a piece about George Eliot in words and music. So I read from Mill on the Floss and Middlemarch and her journals, George Eliot's journals, and Surrey, who is a singer who actually represented the UK in um, what's it called? The
Eurovision.
Eurovision, yes. Uh, who has the most extraordinary, honestly, the most beautiful voice, effortless, beautiful voice. And the Orchestra of the Swan, who are an amazing orchestra. And so a lot of the pieces that I read were set to their music, and David LePage had done all of the assembly of the music. That was an extraordinary thing to be a part of. I loved it. It was different. I was on stage with live musicians. It was live audience, so there was a really good relationship between the audience. I loved listening to Suri singing. But then TV really is I think my natural home really. I like just being able to be completely naturalistic and quite small and in the moment. Yeah, I love watching TV. I love the discipline of TV. Yeah.
And I mean, you also got to kind of investigate your DNA history with Fay Ripley, and that must be quite interesting because you learn you know you don't often get to learn much about kind of your history on a show, so it must be quite nice to kind of be educated about yourself.
Shall I tell you what was nice, Matthew? Just rocking up, not having to learn any lines or, you know, that they literally, because you didn't know anything, they didn't tell you anything. So Faye and I would just arrive and in a location, and then I mean, they would just give you information about, you know, really personal information, obviously about your family, about your DNA, who you are, where you come from. It was a huge privilege to do something like that because you wouldn't have access to that normally, would you? So yeah, it was a huge privilege and really funny doing it with Faye. You know, it was nice to do it with Faye and be with Faye and laugh for a week.
I mean, I imagine that must be one of those things where when you get to work with people that you know really love and you feel comfortable with, that must be when you kind of really have to pinch yourself and think this, you know, this is my job at the end of the day, and it must be just so much fun.
It is fun, you know. I think I've been very blessed in that regard. Yeah, the laughter. Yeah, it's been amazing over the years. The connection and the laughter, and as I said, you know, watching what people, you know, you're very close up when you're filming. It's very intimate. Just watching what people do with stuff, what people bring to the table. It's been lovely. Yeah, amazing.
And I mean, obviously going forward, I imagine there's still so much you want to do, but what is kind of the bucket list? What is maybe the kind of the dream you'd love to do next?
I just love what TV does or theatre does in terms of connection, connecting with people. The you know, I just think it's an incredibly powerful medium. I love watching I love watching long running series and following characters and putting them in different scenarios and putting them under pressure and seeing who they are and how they behave. And I find it hugely comforting watching some of the characters that I've watched over the years and that connection that you have with those, the comfort that they bring, actually. And that's what I would like to do more of, really. Just be a part of that, bring comfort and entertainment to people, really.
So, I mean, outside of your work, what's kind of been your recent, TV watches? What have you found that you've been gripped to?
Honest, do you know what I watched recently, which I found hugely comforting? Gilmore Girls. Have you ever seen it?
See,
Start to finish, Gilmore Girls.
it's one of those series I've never watched. I can't
No,
believe
well,
that.
it's a girl thing, really, and it's very. I mean, it's a while ago now. I've loved. I mean, honestly, I loved Adolescence. I thought that was an extraordinary piece of TV. I've loved. Oh, what else? Usually American stuff, I have to say. That's sort of really the stuff what have I watched? Oh, put me on the spot now. Um, Tell me some things that have been out recently.
I mean, one of the things I've thoroughly enjoyed recently, I don't know if you've seen it, is a series called Little Disasters, which is, I believe it's
No.
Paramount Plus. It's Joe Joyner, and it's an amazing cast. Very kind of thrillery. It's sort of based around a mother who something happens to her child, and there's lots of questions as to did she do it to her child? Did someone else?
I'm writing it down. Little
Little
Disasters.
Disaster. It is, I think it's a
Little
six or an eight
Disaster.
parter. It is really good. I
Okay.
thoroughly enjoyed that. So that's one I would thoroughly recommend.
Okay, I'm going to watch that. Thank you for that
That's
recommendation.
all
I tell
right.
you what else I loved, Yellowstone and all of those.
Yes.
I mean, oh my God, such beautiful storytelling,
Mm.
huge, vast, and again, lovely characters that you could get completely absorbed in. And thought that was an amazing accomplishment, Yellowstone.
I
Yeah.
think that's the amazing thing with telly is if the characters are right, if you don't even need to have the best setting, but sometimes if the characters are likable, that draws you in. And I mean,
Yeah.
sometimes it can be the simplest things that become, huge hits. I mean, thinking of the last
Mm.
sort of couple of years, you talk about, Adolescence, such a great series. I know Afterlife, the Ricky Gervais series, was
Yeah, beautiful.
so
Yeah,
beautiful, and I know
beautiful.
that it's one of those shows that people go, oh, you're not keen on Ricky Gervais, but actually, it was
No,
fantastic.
he wrote beautifully in that, didn't he?
Mm.
And over the years, stuff like Nashville or Grey's Anatomy and um, uh, loads of so many long running series that you get hooked on the people. Yeah.
And it reverts back to as well, Cold Feet being one of those classics that people just love to keep watching, and just it, a good drama can take you from belly laughs to then in floods of tears with emotion, and
Mm,
that roller
mm,
coaster of emotion is
mm,
what people love.
mm. Storytelling. We love storytelling, don't we?
It is as simple as that, and you can't
Mm,
can't put it any more than that, really.
mm.
Now, obviously, we're going out to the patients of the Royal Berkshire Hospital in Reading, and obviously the NHS do an amazing thing. Let's talk a bit about them. What would you say to, any of the staff who, are working tirelessly? What would you like to say to them? And also to anyone who's currently stuck in hospital at the moment and not having the greatest of times, what would you like to say?
Well, my mum was a nurse and worked for the NHS for her whole life, so I know I appreciate the work that the NHS do. Everyone in a hospital as well, the doctors, the nursing, the cleaning staff, the caterers, everybody in that community of people and what they provide. I think it's really worrying that, we are solely dependent, completely and utterly dependent. All of us are. At some point in our life, we've used the NHS, need the NHS, and yeah, I just think that they are an amazing bunch of people who are an extraordinary bunch of people who dedicate their lives above and beyond. I have nothing but admiration and respect for them, and I'm grateful for them for providing all that they provide because they're certainly not paid enough. They're certainly not treated with the respect that they deserve. Because I think people just look away, don't they? we only look when we need the help, and I think we all need to acknowledge that they're there 24/7 all the time when we need them and when we don't need them. And I'm hugely grateful for that.
And what would you like to say to the patients stuck in hospital at the moment?
Oh, I'm sorry. Hello. And I'm sorry you find yourself in hospital. Um, when I've been in hospital, I find them quite frightening. It's dealing with the unknown, and it draws you close to, yeah, I get quite frightened. But breathe, breathe, feel my love. I hope you feel connected to me in this moment. I send you all my love. I send you all my healing. And as my sister said to me, send golden light through your whole body. And I hope you feel healing and wellness and that you get better soon.
Fantastic. And just before we go, just wanted to ask, what does the future hold for you? Because people love watching you on the telly. What have we got to look forward to that you can tell us about?
Who knows? The stuff that I've done recently has come out. So I'm about to go and do a series or an episode of Death in Paradise. So an episode, a little turn in that. And who knows what the future holds for me, Matthew.
I was going to say, a lovely trip abroad, I imagine, isn't a bad thing.
No, exactly. We're very welcome. Yeah.
Now, as I say, people need to keep an eye out for, for that when it comes out. And people, there's so much of your work that people can go back and watch if they want to. But Hermione, it's been an absolute honor. Thank you for giving up your time. You're welcome back anytime. And of course,
Thank you,
keep safe.
Matthew. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. Lovely to talk to you.